Starlight, a science fiction sleep story, presented by Bedtime Stories. Make yourself comfortable, close your eyes, take a slow, deep breath. And now, let the story begin. The soft hum of Lumina City was a lullaby in itself, a constant, gentle thrum beneath Elara's window. It was a sound as familiar as her own heartbeat, a comforting presence that vibrated through the synth silk quilt draped over her bed. Outside, the city glowed with its perpetual twilight, a carefully calibrated warmth that mimicked the softest parts of a sunset, never quite giving way to true darkness. Lumina was designed for comfort, for peace, for an endless, gentle illumination. Elara sighed, a small, sleepy sound. Her Lumibot tips whirred quietly on her bedside table, its single optical sensor a soft, friendly blue. Optimal sleep parameters detected, Elara, Pips chirped, its voice a synthesized whisper. Atmospheric processors are regulating air quality to ideal levels. Dreamweaver is primed, all systems nominal for a restful night. Thanks, Pips, Elara murmured, pulling the quilt higher. Pips was always so efficient, so perfectly helpful. It had been with her since she was a toddler, a constant, cheerful companion. But tonight, Pip's perfect efficiency didn't quite reach the quiet ache in Elara's chest. She reached out, tracing the smooth, cool surface of her window. Beyond it, the luminous sky dome shimmered, diffusing the city's light back down, creating that eternal twilight. It was beautiful, certainly. The glowing spires, the aerotrains gliding silently on their energy currents, the cascading hydroponic gardens that spilled down the sides of the megastructures like living waterfalls of emerald and sapphire. But it wasn't in real night. Tonight, Nana Elara had told her a story. One of the old stories. Nana Elara lived in a slightly older part of Lumina, where the architecture was a little less sleek, a little more worn, and the air carried the faint, wonderful scent of Nana's real earth spices, which she somehow managed to grow in her compact, vertical garden. Nana Elara had a way of telling stories that made the very air around her shimmer with forgotten magic. Her voice was like warm honey, each word a carefully polished gem. Tonight's story had been about the stars. They were like tiny holes punched in a vast black blanket. Little starling, Nana Elara had said, her eyes crinkling at the corners as she looked at her granddaughter. Each one a sun, unimaginably far away, burning with its own light. And they weren't all the same. Some were fiery red, some icy blue, some a soft shimmering gold. And they twinkled, Elara. They pulsed and danced, like tiny heartbeats in the velvet dark. Elara had listened, utterly captivated, her imagination painting vivid pictures in the soft glow of Nana's apartment. She had seen countless holographic projections of stars, of course. Lumina had breathtaking planetariums, where super-realistic cosmic vistas unfolded across immense curved screens. They were stunning, breathtaking, but they felt distant, like watching a beautiful play from the very back row. Nana's stories felt different. They felt like a memory, a whisper from a forgotten time that Elara somehow, impossibly, yearned for. And there were patterns, you see, Nana had continued, gesturing with her hands as if drawing in the air. People saw animals, heroes, everyday objects in those patterns. They named them. Orion the hunter, Ursa Major, the great bear, Cassiopeia the queen, and the stories they wove around those star pictures. Oh, they were magnificent. Elara had leaned forward, her elbows on Nana's knee. But why can't we see them now, Nana? She'd asked, a question she'd posed 100 times before. Nana Elara had sighed then, a soft, wistful sound. Lumina was built for comfort, little starling, to protect us from the harshness of the outside. The sky dome filters out so much the radiation, the extreme temperatures, the dust, and with all our city lights, our beautiful bright city, the natural light of the stars was simply overwhelmed. We chose our own lights. But wouldn't it be wonderful, Elara had whispered, to see them? Just once? The early ones. Nana Elara had smiled then, a secret, knowing smile that made Elara's heart flutter with a strange hope. Perhaps, she'd said, her eyes twinkling. Perhaps it would. The stars are always there, little starling, even when you can't see them. Sometimes you just need to know where to look or have the right key. Now, back in her own room, those words echoed in Ilara's mind. Right key. What could it be? Was it a physical key, a code, a way of thinking? Pips chirped again, pulling Ilara gently from her reverie. Dreamweaver activation imminent. Would you like to select a pre-programmed dreamscape, Ilara? Ocean depths is popular tonight. Or perhaps forest canopy? Ilara shook her head, a small smile playing on her lips. No, Pips. Tonight I think I'll try for my own dreamscape. Pips tilted its optical sensor, a gesture Ilara knew meant mild surprise. Custom dreamscapes are statistically less restful, Ilara. They lack the optimized narrative flow of programmed scenarios. I know, Pips. But tonight, I want to dream of stars. Pips hummed, a tiny, almost imperceptible sound of processing. Understood. Initiating Dreamweaver for organic dream generation. Please lie still, Ilara. Ilara settled back, the synth silk cool against her skin. A soft, almost imperceptible field enveloped her. A gentle pressure that eased her muscles and quieted her mind. The Dreamweaver was a marvel of neurotechnology, designed to guide the brain into deep, restorative sleep, while also allowing for vivid, often shared, dream experiences. Most people chose the pre-designed dreamscapes, lush jungles, serene beaches, thrilling adventures, but Ilara sometimes liked to let her own subconscious take the reins. Especially tonight. As the Dreamweaver deepened its gentle embrace, Ilara closed her eyes. She imagined the vastness Nana had described, the impenetrable blackness pierced by countless pinpricks of light. She imagined the silence, broken only by the distant rhythmic pulse of those tiny, faraway suns. She imagined the stories woven into their patterns, ancient tales whispered across light years. Sleep came quickly, as it always did under the Weaver's influence. But tonight, Ilara's dreams were not of the usual Lumina vistas, nor of the beautiful, but sterile, planetarium projections. Tonight, Ilara dreamt of a darkness so profound it felt like velvet. And in that darkness a single brilliant star bloomed, then two, then 1,000, 1,000,000, until the sky was a shimmering tapestry of light. She reached out, and one of the stars detached itself, floating gently down to her palm, a tiny warm ember that pulsed with ancient light. She felt a connection, a resonance, as if the star was whispering secrets directly into her soul. Windia. The next morning, Ilara awoke with a lingering sense of wonder. The warmth of the dream star still seemed to tingle in her hand. Pips was already active, preparing her nutrient taste and projecting the daily Lumina weather report. Always perfectly temperate, always a gentle, rosy twilight. Good morning, Ilara, Pips chirped. You generated a unique dreamscape last night. Neural activity suggests a high degree of emotional engagement and vivid imagery. Ilara smiled, stretching languidly. It was beautiful, Pips. I dreamt of stars. Stars are a recurring theme in your personal data logs, Pips noted. Historically, pre-dome societies placed significant cultural value on astronomical observation. I know, Ilara said, taking a spoonful of her nutrient paste. It tasted faintly of synth berry, always the same, always perfectly balanced. Nana says they helped people navigate, and tell time, and even tell stories. After her morning routine, which involved a gentle stretching sequence guided by a holographic instructor, and a quick review of her school lessons, Lumina history, advanced quantum mechanics for beginners, and ethical AI development, Ilara felt an irresistible pull towards Nana Ilara's apartment. She took a sky sled, a small open vehicle that glided silently along designated air corridors. The city was bustling, even in its perpetual calm. People moved purposefully, their synth fabric clothes shimmering in the soft light. Some wore in-fur veils, transparent screens projected directly onto their faces, displaying data streams and communications. Ilara preferred to watch the city itself, the intricate dance of its inhabitants, the geometric beauty of its architecture. Nana Ilara's building was in Sector 7, one of the original residential sectors. It was still perfectly maintained, but there was a different feel to it, a quieter, more reflective atmosphere. The communal gardens here featured older, more robust plant species, and the scent of damp earth was a welcome change from Lumina's usual sterile fresh air. Nana Elara was tending to her spice garden when Elara arrived, her fingers deftly pruning a slender crimson vine. "Little starling," she said, looking up with that familiar warm smile. "To what do I owe the pleasure of this morning visit?" "The stars, Nana," Elara blurted out, unable to contain her excitement. "Your story, and my dream." She described the dream in detail, the velvet darkness, the exploding tapestry of light, the single star in her palm. Nana Elara listened patiently, her eyes never leaving Elara's. When Elara finished, Nana nodded slowly. "A powerful dream, little one. The mind is a wonderful thing. It can glimpse truths even when the eyes cannot." "You said I needed the right key," Elara reminded her. "What did you mean? Is there a way, Nana? A real way to see them?" Nana Elara paused, her gaze drifting to a small, ornate wooden box on a nearby shelf. It looked out of place in her otherwise sleek, minimalist apartment, a relic from a bygone era. "My grandfather," Nana began, her voice softer now. "He was a stargazer. Not an official one, mind you. He lived before the domes, when the sky was still open. He had a passion for the cosmos, a deep, abiding love for those distant lights." She walked over to the box and gently ran her fingers over its smooth, polished surface. He believed that even when the domes were built, the stars would still call to those who listened. He spent his later years trying to find a way to pierce the veil, to see them again. Elara held her breath, her heart thumping. Did he find it? Nana Elara opened the box. Inside, nestled on a bed of faded velvet, was a single peculiar object. It was small, no bigger than Elara's palm, and made of a dark, polished metal that seemed to absorb the light around it. It had a strange, almost organic shape, smooth and curved, with a single, perfectly clear crystal lens embedded in one end. It didn't look like any luminotech Elara had ever seen. It looked ancient, mysterious. "He called it the star lens," Nana Elara said, picking it up with reverence. "He worked on it for years, combining ancient optical principles with nascent energy magnification theories. He claimed it could focus on the faintest traces of starlight, amplify them, and project them onto a viewing surface, even through the atmospheric filters of the dome." She handed it to Elara. The star lens was surprisingly heavy, cool and smooth beneath her fingers. It felt powerful, like a dormant energy hummed within its depths. "He never quite finished it," Nana continued, a touch of sadness in her voice. "He passed before he could calibrate it perfectly, said it needed a true heart and a clear intention to fully awaken. And then, with the domes fully operational, and the stars a forgotten memory for most, I put it away." Elara turned the star lens over in her hands, her mind racing. "So, it's broken." "Not broken, little starling. Unfinished, untuned. It has power, I know it does, but it needs someone to understand it, to guide it. My grandfather was a man of science, but he also believed in something more, something spiritual, in the pursuit of knowledge. He believed the stars responded to longing, to genuine curiosity." Elara looked from the star lens to Nana Elara, a spark igniting within her. "And you think I could finish it? Tune it?" Nana Elara smiled, that secret, knowing smile again. "You have his heart, Elara, his longing for the stars, and perhaps you have a clearer intention than he ever did. He sought to prove they were still there. You seek to feel them." The idea was daunting, exhilarating. Elara had never tinkered with anything beyond basic school projects, certainly nothing as complex or mysterious as the star lens. But the thought of seeing the real stars, not just a projection, not just a story, but the actual, ancient light from across the cosmos, filled her with an almost unbearable excitement. "Where do I start?" Elara asked, her voice barely a whisper. Nana Elara reached out and gently squeezed Elara's hand, the one holding the star lens. "Start by listening, little starling. Listen to its silence. Listen to your heart. And then perhaps we can look through some of my grandfather's old journals. He left behind many cryptic notes. He was a man of riddles, my grandfather. Elara spent the rest of the morning with Nana Elara, poring over dusty ancient data crystals that contained her grandfather's observations, his diagrams, his philosophical musings about the cosmos. The language was archaic, the scientific principles sometimes unfamiliar, but Elara felt a strange connection to this distant ancestor, a shared wonder. One particular entry caught her eye, a single faded image of a constellation she recognized from Nana's stories, Orion, the hunter. Beneath it, a cryptic phrase. Why the three jewels of the belt align with the heart of the seeker. Only then does the veil thin. The three jewels of the belt? Elara mused aloud. What does that mean? Nana Elara tapped her chin thoughtfully. Orion's belt, 3 bright stars close together. My grandfather was obsessed with them. He believed they held a special significance, a cosmic alignment that could be replicated or invoked. Elara felt a thrill of discovery. This wasn't just old tech, it was a puzzle, a quest. And she, Elara, with her longing for the stars, was the one meant to solve it. As the luminar twilight deepened to its evening shade of soft rose, Elara prepared to leave Nana's apartment. She carefully placed the star lens into a small pouch her grandmother gave her, feeling its familiar weight against her side. Be careful, little starling, Nana Elara said, her eyes gentle. The path to wonder is not always straightforward, and remember the truest light comes from within. Back in her own room, the lumina hum a familiar comfort. Elara sat on her bed, the star lens lying on her palm. Pips floated nearby, its blue eye observing her. Elara, your neural patterns indicate heightened alertness and problem-solving engagement, Pips reported. Are you experiencing any distress? No distress, Pips, Elara replied, her gaze fixed on the ancient device. Just hope, and a lot of questions. She picked up one of her school datapads, quickly calling up a comprehensive star chart, overlaid with historical constellation data. She found Orion, zoomed in on the 3 stars of the belt, Alnitak, Alnilam, Minticut, and Aint. 3 distant suns, forever hidden behind the sky dome's comforting shield. The 3 jewels of the belt align with the heart of the seeker. Now. Elara ran her thumb over the smooth surface of the star lens. It was cold, inert, but she felt a faint whisper of potential within it. She knew this wouldn't be easy. It wouldn't be a simple flick of a switch. But she also knew with a certainty that hummed deep in her soul, that she had to try. For Nana, for her grandfather, but most of all, for herself. For the longing that had been awakened by a bedtime story, a longing for the real, untamed magnificent light of the stars. She placed the star lens carefully on her bedside table, next to Pip's. The Lumibot glowed softly, a beacon of artificial light in the perpetual twilight of Luminaire. Elara lay back, pulling her quilt up to her chin. Tonight, she wouldn't need the Dreamweaver. Tonight, her dreams would be guided by the promise of discovery, by the quiet hope of seeing, truly seeing, the starlight she so deeply yearned for. The stars were waiting, and Elara, little starling of Lumina, was ready to find the key. The soft hum of Pips faded into the deeper quiet of Elara's mind as she drifted, not into the usual kaleidoscope of curated dreams, but into something far more vast and unbidden. Her consciousness felt like a tiny mote swirl in an ocean of deepening indigo. There was no storyline, no familiar faces, only an immense growing sense of presence. Then, the light began. Not the diffuse glow of Lumina, but sharp, piercing points, like diamonds flung across black velvet. They flickered, pulsed and danced, forming intricate patterns that no Dreamweaver could ever conjure. She felt a pull, a magnetic yearning, that resonated deep within her chest, echoing the Starlend's silent promise. The patterns coalesced, not into constellations she knew from data scrolls, but into geometric forms of impossible complexity. Triangles interlocked with spirals, cubes unfolded into tesseracts, all shimmering with an internal luminescence that pulsed in time with an unheard cosmic rhythm. It was a language, she realized, a universal script written in light and shadow. And she, Elara, little starling of Lumina, understood it, not with her mind, but with her soul. One pattern, more insistent than the others, began to repeat. A delicate helix, like a double-braided strand of light, coiling around a central point. As she watched, mesmerized, the central point flared, revealing not a star, but a symbol. It was ancient, weathered, yet vibrant with latent energy. A stylized open eye, framed by 3 radiating lines. It wasn't just a symbol, it was a map, a blueprint, an instruction. The dream shifted. The vastness receded, replaced by a cavernous space, dimly lit, smelling of ozone and forgotten time. And there, etched into a colossal, half-buried plinth, was the symbol. The open eye. It glowed faintly, pulsed with the same rhythm as the stars in her dream, a silent invitation. She felt a surge of adrenaline, the thrill of revelation. This was the key. Not an object, but a place. A hidden sanctuary, waiting to be rediscovered. Elara woke with a gasp, her heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped flutterwing. The perpetual twilight of her room seemed dull, muted after the brilliance of her dream. Pips, startled by her sudden movement, whirred to life, its Lumibot faceplate cycling through a concerned shade of soft green. Elara, query, distress signal detected, physiological indicators, elevated pulse, rapid respiration, state of mind, agitated. Pip's synthesized voice was calm, a stark contrast to the whirlwind inside her. Elara sat up, pushing her quilt back. Her fingers went to the star lens on her bedside table, its surface still cool. No, Pips, not agitated, excited. More than excited, I saw it. I saw it. Saw what, Elara? Did the Dreamweaver malfunction? Should I initiate a diagnostic? No Dreamweaver, Pips, the star lens. She picked up the device, her fingers tracing the smooth, cool metal. It showed me a place, a hidden place. The key, Pips. I think it's the key. Pip's optic sensors focused on the star lens, then back on Elara. Query. Location of this hidden place. Elara closed her eyes, recalling the image. Beneath Lumina, deep beneath, it had a symbol, an open eye surrounded by 3 lines. It felt ancient, powerful. Pips emitted a series of rapid clicks and whirs. Analysis. Symbol correlates with pre-foundational Lumina records. Designated the Oculus, believed to be a mythological site, a point of observation before the Great Shroud was established. Current status, unlocated, presumed apocryphal. It's not apocryphal, Pips. It's real. I felt it. Elara swung her legs over the side of the bed. We have to find it. Elara, accessing restricted zones beneath the city spire is highly regulated. Unauthorized entry carries severe penalties, including re-education protocols. Pip's voice held a note of genuine concern. Furthermore, the depths beneath Lumina are uncharted. Geothermal vents, unstable substrata, unknown atmospheric conditions. It is illogical to proceed without proper authorization and equipment. Elara stood, her feet finding the cool floor. Illogical maybe, but I have to. The stars, Pips, they're waiting, and that place, it felt like it's connected to them. It felt like it's connected to them. It felt like it's thy way. She looked at her small cozy room, then at the ever-present twilight outside her transparisteel window. The thought of continuing her life without seeking this out was suddenly unbearable. But how, Elara? Pips asked, circling her feet. How would a child and a Lumibot access a forgotten mythological site beneath a highly regulated world? Elara paused, then a mischievous glint entered her eyes. We'll be clever, Pips. We'll be quiet, and we'll use what we have. She looked around her room, her gaze settling on her collection of old data scrolls, forgotten schematics her father had once playfully shown her, and even her own creative tinkering project. My father taught me about the old pathways, the maintenance tunnels that run beneath the city spire. He said they were like the veins of Lumina. And he always said, sometimes, the best way to see what's truly there is to look where no one else thinks to look. Pips considered this. Re-evaluating probability matrix. Minimal chance of success without advanced navigational aids, environmental suits, and a power source, suggesting a reconnaissance mission first. No time for reconnaissance, Pips. We go, now. Elara started rummaging through a storage cube. We'll need a light lure, a few nutrient pastes, my father's old multi-tool. It still holds a charge, I think, and this. She pulled out a roll of heavy-duty synth rope, surprisingly sturdy for its age. And we have the star lens. It's more than just a viewer, Pips, it's a guide. Within minutes, a small pack was assembled. Elara changed into her sturdy utility jumpsuit, its fabric designed for minor repairs and maintenance, making her less conspicuous if she had to pass through a service corridor. Pips, ever efficient, scanned the city spires, real-time traffic and security feeds, finding a fleeting window of opportunity. Optimal departure window in 7:30 minutes, Pips announced. Sector 7 Gamma maintenance shaft. Low sensor coverage due to scheduled power conduit recalibration. Elara nodded, her heart thrumming with a mix of fear and exhilaration. This was it. The real journey. Let's go, Pips. They slipped out of her apartment, moving like shadows through the quiet residential corridor. The city's spire was still in its perpetual twilight, but most residents were either in communal dream cycles or engaged in their scheduled work shifts. The corridors hummed with the low thrum of luminous power grid, a comforting familiar sound that now felt charged with a new significance. Reaching Sector 7 Gamma was easier than Elara expected. Her father's old access codes, surprisingly, still worked for the maintenance shaft, though they triggered a minor alert that Pips swiftly spoofed and silenced. The heavy circular hatch hissed open, revealing a dark, utilitarian shaft that plummeted into Lumina's depth. A chill, damp air wafted up, carrying the faint scent of minerals and something ancient, something that had been undisturbed for a very long time. Environmental conditions, declining atmospheric pressure, increasing humidity, trace elements of unclassified gases, Pips reported, its Lumibot form slightly dimmed to conserve energy. Suggest caution, Elara. Always, Pips, she whispered, securing her pack and clipping the star lens to her belt. She took a deep breath, the air surprisingly crisp, then began her descent down the ladder rungs, Pips whirring beside her, its internal gyros compensating for the uneven surfaces. The descent was long and arduous. Lumina City Spire extended far deeper than most inhabitants realized, a labyrinth of conduits, transport tubes, and forgotten chambers. The maintenance shaft eventually led them into a network of older, less used tunnels. Here, the air grew thicker, the silence more profound, broken only by the drip of unseen water and the scuttling of tiny, harmless tunnel creatures. Elara used her father's multi-tool to bypass rusted locks and pry open ancient grates. The star lens, however, was her true guide. As they ventured deeper, its surface began to emit a faint internal glow, pulsing softly, mirroring the helix pattern from her dream. The light was almost imperceptible in the dark, but Elara could feel its subtle pull, a gentle tug in a specific direction. Hours passed. Elara's muscles ached, and her nutrient paste tasted bland, but her resolve never wavered. Pips, with its internal mapping systems, confirmed that they were moving away from any known Lumina infrastructure, delving into true uncharted territory. The walls of the tunnels changed, from polished synth steel to rough, unworked rock, veined with glowing bioluminescent fungi that cast an ethereal, alien light. Proximity alert. Significant geological anomaly ahead, Pips announced, its voice tight with digital tension. Massive structural void detected. Readings suggest an enclosed space of immense proportions. The star lens pulsed brighter, its internal glow now a steady beacon. The air grew heavier, thick with a scent of minerals and something else, something metallic and electric, like dormant power. They emerged from a narrow fissure into a vast, cavernous chamber. It was so immense that their light lure couldn't illuminate its distant reaches. Towering stalactites hung like colossal fangs from the unseen ceiling, while massive stalagmites rose from the floor, forming a forest of silent giants. And there, dominating the center of the chamber, was a structure unlike anything Elara had ever seen. It was a colossal plinth, just as in her dream, carved from an obsidian-like rock, that seemed to absorb what little light reached it. And upon its surface, weathered by millennia but still vibrant with latent power, was the symbol, the open eye, framed by 3 radiating lines. It pulsed with a soft, steady light, reflecting in Elara's wide, awestruck eyes. This was it. The oculus. "Pips, we found it," Elara breathed, her voice barely a whisper in the echoing space. "Affirmative, Elara. The oculus. Unbelievable." Pip's voice had lost its usual detached analysis, replaced by a note of pure wonder. "My databases are updating with significant new information. This site, it predates the Shroud. It predates Lumina's foundation. This is a primary stargazing nexus." Elara approached the plinth, her hand outstretched. As her fingers brushed the cold, smooth stone of the symbol, it flared, sending a ripple of energy through the chamber. The bioluminescent fungi on the walls pulsed in response, and a deep resonant hum vibrated through the ground beneath her feet. Suddenly, sections of the plinth began to retract, sliding away with a low groan of ancient machinery. A hidden opening was revealed, a dark maw leading deeper into the heart of the structure. "Caution, Elara," Pips warned, but Elara was already moving, drawn by an irresistible force. Inside, the air was still, sterile, and cold. The passage opened into another vast chamber, this one clearly artificial. It was a hangar, impossibly huge, its ceiling lost in the darkness above. And in the center of the hangar, bathed in a faint ethereal glow emanating from unseen power conduits, rested a ship. It was unlike any vessel Elara had ever seen in Lumina's data scrolls. Sleek, aerodynamic, crafted from a material that seemed to shimmer with latent energy. It was a teardrop of polished starlight. It was not built for comfort or cargo, but for speed and exploration. Its smooth hull bore no visible seams, no obvious entry points, only the elegant curve of its form, culminating in a pointed nose and 3 delicate swept-back fins at the rear. And etched onto its side, just beneath a transparent viewport, was the familiar symbol, the open eye. "A starhopper?" Pips whispered, its voice filled with a reverence Elara had never heard before. "An ancient, pre-shroud exploratory vessel." Elara circled the ship, her hand caressing its cool, smooth surface. It felt alive, despite its millennia of slumber. This wasn't just a key to seeing the stars. I was the way to them. This was her vessel, her passage to the cosmos. "How do we get in, Pips?" she asked, her voice thick with emotion. Pips scanned the ship. No visible hatches or entryways, suggesting biometric or energy-based activation. The symbol, it is the key. Elara held up the star lens. Its light pulsed in sync with the symbol on the ship's hull. She understood. The star lens wasn't just a viewer, it was an activator, a bridge between the ancient technology and the yearning spirit. With a deep breath, Elara pressed the star lens against the symbol on the ship's hull. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a low thrum vibrated through the ship's entire structure. The symbol on the hull flared, matching the star lens' internal glow. A hairline crack appeared in the ship's side, tracing a delicate arc, then another, until a section of the hull shimmered and retracted, revealing a softly lit interior. Elara gasped. The cockpit was compact, designed for a single pilot, with a dizzying array of shimmering controls and holographic displays that flickered to life as she approached. The pilot's chair, ergonomically designed, beckoned. The air inside was clean, recycled, and surprisingly warm. "Unbelievable," Pips repeated, its sensors whirring. "Power, cores, engaging. Navigation systems initializing, atmospheric processes cycling. This vessel is functional, Elara. After all this time." Elara stepped inside, Pips hovering beside her. The hatch sealed silently behind them, the soft hiss of recycled air filling the small space. She settled into the pilot's chair, the material conforming to her form. Her fingers, trembling slightly, hovered over the controls. The main viewport, a vast expanse of transparent steel, showed the hangar, but her imagination already filled it with nebulae and starfields. A central holographic display flickered into vibrant life, projecting a complex stellar map. It wasn't Lumina's system but a galaxy far beyond, shimmering with 1,000 points of light. A small, highlighted dot pulsed gently, directly in front of their current position. It was Lumina, but the map showed it not as a perpetually twilight world, but as a planet shrouded in a vast artificial cloud. The Great Shroud. And beyond the shroud, directly visible from this vantage point, was the brilliance Ilara had only ever dreamed of. The stars. They were so close, yet so impossibly far. The ship hummed around her, a living entity awakening from a long sleep, ready to carry her to them. The controls were intuitive, almost seeming to respond to her thoughts. This was it. The culmination of her yearning, the beginning of her true adventure. She had found the key, and the key was a starhopper. A final resonant hum filled the cockpit, indicating the ship was fully powered, ready for launch. Ilara looked at Pips, its Lumibot faceplate glowing with an excited orange hue. "Are you ready, Pips?" she whispered, her voice filled with an unshakable determination. "Affirmative, Ilara." Query. Ilara looked out at the vast, dark hangar, then at the star map shimmering before her, her heart swelling with an emotion too profound for words. "Out there, Pips, to the Starlight." She placed her hands on the controls, the ancient ship thrumming in anticipation, a silent promise of the cosmos waiting just beyond the veil. The ancient ship shuddered, a deep, resonant hum vibrating through Ilara's very bones. The primary thrusters ignited with a low guttural roar, a sound that bypassed the ship's sound dampeners and rumbled through the floor plates beneath her feet. The hangar doors, vast and slow, began to retract, peeling back like titanic eyelids to reveal the oppressive blackness of the spaceport roof, studded with the pinprick lights of orbital traffic. "Power conduits at optimal, Ilara. Gravity stabilizers online, external sensors nominal," Pips reported, his voice a calm counterpoint to the growing thunder. "All systems indicate readiness for launch." Ilara's breath hitched. She tightened her grip on the controls, her knuckles white. The ship, the Stardust Seeker, had been dormant for generations, a relic of a bygone era when humanity had first cast its gaze beyond their home star. Now, she was its pilot, its heart. She felt a connection to it, not just as a machine but as a living entity, eager to breathe the vacuum once more. "Engage ascent thrusters, Pips. Take us up." With a mighty shove, the ship lifted, slowly at first, then gaining momentum. The hangar floor, a patchwork of worn plating, dropped away. The Stardust Seeker rose into the cavernous launch shaft, the light from its exhaust plumes painting the grimy walls in shifting shades of orange and red. Ilara watched the altimeter climb, her eyes fixed on the main viewport, which still displayed the metallic ceiling of the launch facility. "Clearing inner atmosphere in T-60 seconds, Pips announced. "Prepare for atmospheric transition." Ilara nodded, her jaw set. She felt the ship's ancient frame groan, not in protest, but in exertion, like an old friend stretching after a long sleep. The rumble became a roar, the vibration intensified, a symphony of power and intent. Then, with a gentle lurch, the ship broke free. The viewport exploded with stars. It wasn't a gradual transition. One moment, they were in the confines of the launch shaft, the next, the universe unfolded before them in breathtaking glory. Millions upon millions of stars, a diamond dust scattered across an infinite velvet cloth. Nebulae, like cosmic paint splatters, swirled in distant reaches. The familiar crescent of their home planet, Solara, hung like a luminous marble, swirled with sapphire oceans and emerald continents, its cities glittering like spilled jewels. Ilara gasped, a sound lost in the sudden profound silence that descended as the thrusters throttled back to a steady silent hum. The sheer scale of it was overwhelming, humbling. She felt a tear trickle down her cheek, a mix of awe and a strange poignant loneliness. "Beautiful, isn't it, Pips?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Affirmative, Ilara. The aesthetic parameters of stellar phenomena are indeed classified as beautiful within standard human emotional response algorithms," Pips replied, his logical tone softened by a subtle inflection that Ilara had come to recognize as his own form of wonder. She smiled, wiping her cheek. It's more than just aesthetic parameters, Pips. It's everything. It's a promise. A promise of what, Ilara? Of what's out there. Of what we can find. She paused, taking a moment to simply obey in the vastness. Ready for the jump, Pips? Ready, Ilara. Calculating optimal slipstream trajectory to designated coordinates. Engaging chronoton displacement field in T-30 seconds. The Stardust Seeker wasn't equipped with a standard warp drive. Its ancient propulsion system, a chronoton displacement field, was a relic, a technology that bent time and space in a way modern ships had long since abandoned for more stable, albeit slower, methods. It was rumored to be faster, but also more unpredictable, a whisper of a forgotten path. A low thrum began to resonate from the ship's core, a sound that rose steadily in pitch until it was a high-frequency whine, almost beyond the range of human hearing. The stars in the viewport began to distort, stretching, smearing into long iridescent streaks of light. It was as if the fabric of reality itself was being pulled taut, ready to snap. 20 seconds to displacement, Pips reported, his voice unwavering. Ilara braced herself, gripping the controls tightly. She'd read about chronoton jumps in the ancient logs, accounts filled with both exhilaration and profound disorientation. Some described a feeling of being stretched thin across time, others a momentary glimpse into impossible dimensions. 10 seconds. The whine became a shriek. The stars were now mere blurs, swirling vortexes of color. The very air in the cockpit seemed to shimmer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The universe outside the viewport shattered in. It wasn't an explosion, but an instantaneous fragmentation. The stars didn't just streak, they broke into a million fractal pieces, each a miniature universe unto itself, then dissolved into a blinding, featureless white. Ilara felt a sensation akin to being simultaneously compressed and expanded, as if her body were momentarily everywhere and nowhere. It was a dizzying, stomach-churning, utterly alien feeling that lasted only a fraction of a second, but seemed to stretch into an eternity. Then, just as abruptly, it was over. The white burst receded, replaced by the familiar blackness of space, but it was a different blackness. The starscape was utterly new, unfamiliar constellations blazing with an intensity that stole Ilara's breath away. Giant, swirling gas clouds, painted in hues of deep violet and emerald green, hung in the distance, bathed in the light of an enormous sapphire blue sun. Slipstream jump complete, Ilara. Arrival at Sector Gamma 7, designated coordinates, optimal, Pips announced, his voice sounding perfectly normal, as if they had merely blinked. Travel time, 0.00000. Ilara slowly unclenched her hands from the controls, her heart hammering against her ribs. She was breathless, her mind struggling to process the sheer, impossible speed of their journey. They had crossed light years in an instant. We made it, she whispered, her voice thick with wonder. She stared out at the new galaxy, her eyes wide. Pips, where are we? Analysis in progress. Primary star system appears to be a Class O hypergiant, approximately 3 times the mass of Sol. Multiple planetary bodies detected, several within the habitable zone. Initial scans indicate a high concentration of exotic matter in the surrounding nebula. Ilara ignored the technical jargon, her gaze fixed on the stunning vista. The sapphire sun cast an ethereal glow over everything, bathing the nearest planet in a soft, otherworldly light. This wasn't just a destination, it was a revelation. Set a course for that planet, Pips, Ilara commanded, pointing to a shimmering orb, half shrouded in the nebula clouds. It looked like a giant opal, its surface swirling with iridescent colors. Let's see what wonders await us there. As they approached the opal-like planet, its details began to resolve. It wasn't just iridescent, it seemed to be alive with light. Rivers of liquid light flowed across its surface, meandering through crystalline mountain ranges that glittered like colossal geode formations. The atmosphere was a hazy, luminous mist, through which colossal, glowing flora pulsed with soft, internal illumination. Preliminary atmospheric composition: nitrogen, oxygen, and a high concentration of bioluminescent particles, Pips reported, a hint of curiosity in his tone. Surface temperature, optimal. No immediate signs of advanced technological civilization, but life signs are abundant and diverse. Elara leaned closer to the viewport, pressing her forehead against the cool plasteel. It's magnificent, like a dream made real. As the Stardust Seeker descended through the luminous atmosphere, the ship itself seemed to absorb the light, its ancient hull shimmering with reflected colors. The swirling mist outside parted, revealing a landscape unlike anything Elara had ever imagined. Giant trees, their branches like delicate glass filigree, reached towards the sky, their leaves glowing with a gentle inner light. Beneath them, bioluminescent fungi pulsed in rhythmic patterns, illuminating pathways through forests of crystalline flora. Landing zone identified. A stable plateau approximately 50 kilometers from the nearest dense forest cluster, Pips advised. Minimal seismic activity. Ground composition appears to be silicate-based, with significant concentrations of unknown, highly reflective minerals. Elara guided the ship with a delicate touch, her heart thrumming with anticipation. The Stardust Seeker settled onto the shimmering plateau with a soft sigh of its repulsolifts, the gentle vibrations spreading through the deck. The ship's exterior cameras projected a 360-degree view onto the cockpit's panoramic display, showing them the breathtaking expanse of the alien world. They were surrounded by a silent, glowing wilderness. The air, filtered through the ship's environmental systems, smelled faintly of ozone and something sweet, like exotic blossoms. Ready the airlock, Pips, and prepare the environmental suits. I want to see this up close. Query. Is direct physical interaction necessary at this juncture, Elara? Elara smiled. Necessary? No. But wonderful, absolutely. This is what we came for, Pips, to feel the ground beneath our feet, to breathe the air, to witness the light with our own eyes. Pips emitted a soft, almost imperceptible hum. Understood, Elara, preparing environmental suits and deploying external atmospheric analysis drones as a precautionary measure. Donning the environmental suit was a familiar ritual, but today it felt different, imbued with a sense of momentous occasion. The suit was light, flexible, and perfectly sealed, its helmet equipped with an array of sensors and a comms link to Pips. Elara took a deep breath, the filtered air cool and clean in her lungs, then stepped into the airlock. The outer hatch cycled open with a gentle hiss, and Elara stepped out onto the glowing surface of the alien world. The ground beneath her boots was firm, smooth, and pulsed with a soft internal luminescence, like walking on a vast living jewel. The air was cool and still, carrying the faint, sweet scent she'd noticed earlier. Giant, crystalline trees towered overhead, their branches reaching into the luminous mist, catching and refracting the sapphire sun's distant light. Their leaves, delicate and translucent, glowed in shades of rose, gold, and emerald. Elara slowly turned, taking it all in. The silence was profound, broken only by the soft hum of her suit's life support and the distant, almost musical sigh of the wind through the crystal branches. She felt an overwhelming sense of peace, a feeling of being exactly where she was meant to be. The air quality is stable, Elara. No harmful pathogens detected. The flora appears to be silicon-based, utilizing ambient chronoton radiation for photosynthesis, which explains its unique luminescence, Pips informed her, his voice a calm presence in her ear. Remarkable. Elara walked forward, her steps light, drawn towards a cluster of glowing flowers that shimmered like tiny, living galaxies. As she approached, the flowers seemed to unfurl further, releasing a cloud of sparkling, dust-like spores that drifted lazily in the air, catching the light and creating miniature rainbows. Pips, look at these, she murmured, holding out a gloved hand. A few of the spores settled on her palm, glowing faintly before dissolving into nothingness. They're ephemeral. Analysis suggests the spores are a form of energy dispersal, not reproductive in nature. They appear to be shedding excess chronoton energy, creating a localized, transient field. Fascinating. As Elara explored, she noticed the ground occasionally shifted, a subtle ripple passing beneath her feet. It wasn't seismic activity, but something else, something organic. She knelt, placing a gloved hand on the glowing surface. It felt warm, almost alive. Pips, the ground, it feels like it's breathing. An interesting observation, Elara. Scanning initial data suggests the ground itself is not a solid mineral composition, but a vast, interconnected network of crystal and fungal growth. The tremors you perceive are likely the rhythmic expansion and contraction of this organism, analogous to a planetary circulatory system. Elara pulled her hand back, a gasp escaping her. The entire planet was a single colossal organism, its surface a living skin. The glowing trees were its hair, the rivers of light its veins. It was a sentient, breathing world. As if in response to her realization, a deep, resonant hum vibrated through the ground, rising from the depths of the planet. It wasn't a threatening sound, but a gentle, inquisitive pulse, like a vast, ancient heart awakening. The glowing flora around her intensified its light, pulsing in sync with the hum. The luminous mist in the atmosphere swirled, coalescing into shimmering, ephemeral shapes that danced in the air, like silent greetings. Elara stood still, awestruck. The planet was communicating with her. Or perhaps, simply acknowledging her presence. She felt a profound sense of connection, a silent communion with something utterly alien, yet deeply familiar. Pips, can you interpret that? She asked, her voice hushed. The resonant frequencies are complex, Elara, beyond standard linguistic parameters. However, the energetic output is non-aggressive. It appears to be a form of environmental self-expression, perhaps a manifestation of its internal chronoton energy field. It resonates with your emotional state. My emotional state? Elara frowned slightly. Affirmative. The patterns of light and sound appear to shift in response to your heightened sense of wonder and curiosity. It is as if the planet is mirroring your feelings, or perhaps even responding to them. Elara took a hesitant step forward, then another, walking deeper into the glowing landscape. The shimmering shapes in the air drifted closer, some circling her, others performing slow, elegant dances. They weren't solid, merely concentrations of light, but they moved with an intelligent grace. One particular shape, larger and more defined than the others, drifted directly in front of her. It coalesced into what looked like a swirling vortex of shimmering stardust, constantly shifting its form, a fleeting outline of a bird, then a spiral galaxy, then a humanoid figure, all made of pure incandescent light. It seemed to be studying her, its silent presence filled with an ancient wisdom. Elara slowly raised a hand, palm open, in a gesture of peace. The light being hovered, then gently extended a tendril of light that brushed against her gloved fingers. There was no physical sensation, but Elara felt a subtle warmth, a fleeting impression of vastness, of time stretching into eternity, of countless stars burning and fading. It was a whisper of understanding, a shared moment of cosmic consciousness. Then, as quickly as it appeared, the light being dissolved, its essence scattering into the luminous mist, leaving Elara standing alone on the glowing surface, a profound sense of peace settling over her. Elara, are you experiencing any anomalous sensory input? Pips queried, his tone more urgent than before. No, Pips, just contact, she breathed, her voice filled with awe. I think it was saying hello. Remarkable, Pips repeated, a new note of something akin to amazement in his synthesized voice. The chronoton energy signatures of the planet have momentarily synchronized with your brainwave patterns, Elara. A direct, non-verbal data exchange appears to have occurred. Elara stood there for a long moment, simply absorbing the experience, the silent echoes of the planet's greeting reverberating within her. This wasn't just exploration, it was communion. As the sapphire sun began its slow descent, painting the distant crystal mountains in shades of deep indigo and fiery orange, Elara knew their journey was only just beginning. This glowing world, with its living ground and its light beings, was merely the first chapter. There were countless other stars, other worlds, other mysteries waiting to be discovered. She turned, looking back at the Stardust Seeker, its ancient hull now gleaming with the reflected light of the alien sunset. It looked less like a machine and more like a vessel of destiny, a silent promise to carry her further, into the unknown. Pips, she said, her voice firm with renewed determination. What's our next heading? Where do we go from here? Elara, during the brief synchronicity with the planetary consciousness, a new set of coordinates was subtly imprinted into the Stardust Seeker's navigation matrix. They appear to be a sequence, a path. The first destination is approximately 3.7 light-years from our current position, deep within the neighboring nebula. But a path? From the planet? Elara's eyes widened. It's guiding us. The data suggests a navigational suggestion, yes. The chronoton signature of the proposed route aligns with the unique energy emanating from this world. It appears to be a star thread, a faint trail of chronoton energy, guiding us to other locations of similar energetic resonance. Elara looked out at the darkening sky, where new stars were beginning to emerge, some familiar, many utterly alien. The nebula, a vast, swirling tapestry of gas and dust, beckoned in the distance, a luminous gateway to the unknown. The planet itself, a vast, gentle consciousness, was pointing the way. Then let's follow it, Pips, Elara declared, a thrill of excitement coursing through her. Let's follow the star thread. There's a whole universe out there waiting for us to find it. She stepped back into the airlock, a profound sense of purpose settling in her heart. The Stardust Seeker was no longer just an ancient ship. It was a compass, guided by the very fabric of the cosmos, ready to embark on a journey woven by the stars themselves. The universe was whispering its secrets, and Elara, with Pips by her side, was ready to listen. The airlock hissed shut behind her, sealing Elara and Pips in the familiar hum of the Stardust Seeker. Pips, sensing the shift in Elara's demeanor, nudged her hand with his soft snout, a low purr rumbling in his chest. "Ready, Pips?" she whispered, stroking his head. His eyes, like twin pools of liquid starlight, seemed to sparkle with understanding. She moved to the main console, its ancient controls glowing softly, awaiting her touch. The star thread, visible only through the ship's unique sensors, pulsed gently on the main view screen, a shimmering strand of cosmic light stretching out into the inky blackness. It was more than a path. It felt like a living entity, a gentle invitation. "All right, Stardust Seeker," Elara murmured, placing her hands on the warm, worn controls. "Let's see where you lead us." With a soft shudder that vibrated through the deck plates, the ship disengaged from the tether of the station. There was no fiery blast, no violent lurch, just a smooth, almost silent acceleration, guided by the unseen force of the star thread. The station, a familiar anchor in the void, slowly receded, shrinking into a distant pinprick of light. Elara felt a pang of nostalgia, then a surge of exhilaration. This was it. True exploration. The first few light years were a kaleidoscope of wonders. The star thread didn't lead them through empty space, but through vibrant cosmic tapestries. They glided past nebulae that bloomed like colossal, iridescent flowers, their petals spun from gas and dust. They skirted the edges of swirling galaxies, their spiral arms glittering with billions of stars, each a potential sun for a potential world. Pips would often press his nose against the viewport, his tail thumping a soft rhythm against the floor, captivated by the silent ballet unfolding outside. Elara learned the Stardust Seeker's rhythms. Its ancient systems responded to her touch with an intuitive grace, as if the ship itself was eager to share its secrets. She discovered holographic charts that unfurled like shimmering scrolls, revealing celestial bodies previously uncatalogued. She found a library of ancient star maps, not of known routes, but of potential destinations, marked by symbols she didn't yet understand. The ship was a living archive, a whisper from a forgotten past. One day, the star thread shimmered with a new intensity, pulling them towards a region of space unlike any Elara had ever seen. Instead of the usual scattered stars, the void here was punctuated by massive, impossibly smooth geometric structures, floating in perfect stillness. They were black, absorbing all light, yet their outlines were somehow visible, like tears in the fabric of space. "What are those, Pips?" Elara breathed, her voice hushed with awe. Pips let out a low whine, his ears twitching. The Stardust Seeker slowed, its sensors bathing one of the structures in a gentle, non-invasive light. It was a perfect octahedron, miles across, its surface utterly featureless. The star thread seemed to lead directly into its heart. "It's not natural," Ilara mused, bringing up the ship's scanning systems. The readings were baffling. The structure seemed to be made of an unknown material, impossibly dense yet weightless. It emitted no energy, no radiation, no detectable signals. It was simply air. With a soft hum, a section of the octahedron's surface shimmered, then peeled back like a petal, revealing an opening. Inside, a soft, inviting light pulsed, a warm amber glow. The star thread pulsed in response, urging them forward. Ilara hesitated, a flicker of apprehension mixing with her boundless curiosity. This was different from observing nebulae die. This was an invitation. "Are you ready, Pips?" Pips nudged her hand, his purr a comforting rumble. Taking a deep breath, Ilara guided the Stardust Seeker into the aperture. Inside, the space was vast, far larger than the exterior implied. It was a cavernous chamber, yet not dark, illuminated by the same soft amber light that seemed to emanate from the very walls. The star thread unfurled before them, leading them to a central platform, where a single crystalline pillar rose towards the unseen ceiling. As the Stardust Seeker settled gently onto the platform, Ilara and Pips disembarked. The air was warm, smelling faintly of ozone and something clean, like fresh rain on metal. The pillar pulsed in rhythm with the star thread, and as Ilara approached it, intricate patterns of light began to dance across its surface. She reached out, her fingers brushing against the cool, smooth crystal. As she made contact, a wave of information, not words, but pure understanding, washed over her mind. It was a story told in light and feeling. She saw them, the Threadweavers. Not a species of flesh and blood, but beings of pure energy, of thought and purpose. They had existed eons ago, at the dawn of the universe, and had witnessed the birth of stars, the formation of galaxies. They understood the cosmic dance, the subtle energies that bound all things. They saw nascent civilizations struggling in isolation, lost in the vastness, yearning for connection. And so, they wove the star threads, not physical constructs, but pathways of resonant energy, designed to guide, to connect, to nurture. Each thread was a unique invitation, tailored to the potential of a specific species, leading them not just to a destination, but to a deeper understanding of the universe and their place within it. The octahedrons, Ilara now understood, were not merely structures. They were waypoints, cosmic libraries, repositories of knowledge, and gentle guidance. Each one held a piece of the Threadweaver's legacy, a lesson, a puzzle, a gift. This particular octahedron, she realized, was a beacon for nascent explorers, a test of curiosity and courage. The crystal pillar projected a holographic star chart, not of her own galaxy, but of a sprawling network of star threads crisscrossing the entire observable universe. Each thread pulsed with a unique color, a unique song. Her own star thread, the one that had led her here, glowed with a vibrant, hopeful blue. Ilara felt tears welling in her eyes, not of sadness, but of profound connection. She wasn't alone. Humanity wasn't alone. The universe wasn't a cold, empty void, but a vast, interconnected tapestry, woven by benevolent hands. She spent days within the octahedron, absorbing the knowledge, understanding the gentle philosophy of the Threadweavers. Pips, too, seemed to commune with the energies, often sitting beside the pillar, his fur shimmering faintly with the reflected light, a look of profound peace on his face. He'd bring her small, smooth stones he found on the floor, as if offering his own tiny contributions to the wisdom of the place. The Stardust Seeker itself seemed to resonate with the octahedron's energy. Its ancient systems hummed with renewed vigor. Ilara discovered new functionalities, new ways to interact with the star threads. The ship was not just a vessel, it was a receiver, a translator, a bridge between her and the cosmic network. When it was time to leave, Ilara felt a renewed sense of purpose, deeper and more profound than ever before. The star thread outside the octahedron now pulsed with a different hue, a soft emerald green, leading to a new destination, a new lesson. "Ready for the next chapter, Pips?" she whispered, as they re-entered the Stardust Seeker. Pips barked softly, then settled at her feet, his eyes fixed on the emerald thread. their journey continued. The emerald thread led them to a planetary system bathed in the light of a binary star, one red, one blue. G. Here, the threadweavers had left another gift, a sprawling, intricate garden that covered an entire moon. Not a garden of static plants, but of living light, of flora that bloomed in patterns of pure energy, shifting colors with the subtle changes in the binary star's light. It was a sanctuary, a place of pure aesthetic wonder, designed to inspire joy and reverence for life in all its forms. Elara and Pip spent weeks there, wandering through pathways of shimmering light flowers, listening to the silent symphony of the cosmic garden. The next thread, a deep violet, guided them to a derelict space station, not of the threadweavers, but of a species that had once flourished, and then, for reasons unknown, had faded. This station was a museum of their culture, their technology, their art. It was a lesson in impermanence, a gentle reminder that all things change, but that even in fading, beauty and knowledge can be preserved. Elara learned to interpret their complex pictographs, their haunting melodies, and felt a profound empathy for a people she would never know. Pips would often sit by a holographic projector, mesmerized by the ancient dancing figures, occasionally letting out a soft, mournful whine. Each star thread was a new university, a new mentor, a new friend. Elara learned about the delicate balance of ecosystems on worlds far away, about the mathematics of collapsing stars, about the philosophy of beings who communicated through scent and touch. She learned that the universe was not just vast, but infinitely diverse, teeming with different ways of being, seeing, and understanding. She learned that the greatest technology was not one that conquered, but one that connected. The Stardust Seeker, with its ancient wisdom and its connection to the star threads, was the perfect embodiment of this. It didn't force its way, it listened, it guided, it understood. One day after years had passed, Elara found herself back in familiar territory, though subtly changed by the cosmic currents. The star thread, now a shimmering gold, had led her in a vast loop, bringing her within range of her home station. But it was no longer her home station. It was still there, a distant beacon, but her home was now the Stardust Seeker, and the universe her boundless backyard. Pips, now a little older, his fur a touch greyer around the muzzle, rested his head on her lap. They were watching a new star thread unfurl before them, a brilliant silver, beckoning them towards a cluster of young, vibrant stars. Elara smiled, a deep, contented smile that reached her eyes. She was no longer just a girl searching for answers. She was an explorer, a keeper of cosmic tales, a silent listener to the universe's whispers. She had found her purpose, not in a single destination, but in the infinite journey itself. She had found that the universe wasn't just waiting to be discovered. It was waiting to be understood, to be appreciated, to be loved. "The universe is still whispering, Pips," she murmured, stroking his soft fur. "And we're still listening." She laid her head back, gazing at the silver star thread, shimmering like a promise in the boundless dark. The Stardust Seeker hummed around them, a comforting, familiar presence. Outside, the stars glittered, silent and vast, each one a distant sun, perhaps guiding another curious soul on their own star thread. The universe was a grand unfolding story, and Elara, with Pips by her side, was ready for the next enchanting chapter. She closed her eyes, the gentle sway of the ship lulling her, the silent promise of endless wonders filling her heart, knowing that the greatest adventure of all was simply to keep exploring, to keep wondering, and to keep listening to the universe's endless, beautiful song.